We could survive that. We could survive that. We could survive it. Hello and welcome to We Could Survive That, your survival guide to the movies. I'm Jack, and today I'm joined by a man who's very Vigil. It's Chris.
Good evening, and greetings to all of our lovely visitors tonight. And I will be the one who's keeping vigil over yourselves as you sleep through the night. I'm going to sit by your bed and read prayers from a book. That's not creepy at all, is it?
It's extremely creepy. I would not sleep one wink with you anywhere near me.
But the thing is, you don't know I'm there. I come in after you've been asleep. I don't turn up while you're awake and wait for you to go to sleep. That's weird. I turn up after you've gone to sleep.
Break into my house.
I watch over your body and guard it throughout the night, yes.
I would wake up and punch you.
You would wake up and then crap yourself, because I'd be sitting in the shadow and I'd just be, shh, go back to sleep. It's fine.
I sleep with a pillow of rocks. Some people like hard pillows, some people like soft pillows. I like a pillow full of rocks, just in case. You never know when you might need to bludgeon someone with a pillowcase full of rocks.
Well, we are survival experts, so I don't blame you.
You can never be too careful, and that's tip number 1 today. That one's free. Just all-purpose survival tip. James Bond sleeps with a gun under his pillow.
You sleep with rocks under your head.
It's not unreasonable.
That's fair enough, okay.
Chris, today we're doing a horror film that you recommended, The Vigil, which came out in 2019. Well, it came out in some places in 2019. The Vigil was directed by Keith Thomas, and the film did the rounds on the festival circuit before being picked up by Blumhouse for distribution. It came out on Netflix last year here in the UK, but has yet to debut in the US. It's coming out next month in the US. I don't know whether it's coming out on their Netflix or whether they're going to cinemas, but it's out. We have seen it, and we're going to try and survive this film, aren't we, Chris? It's not the first haunted spooky house film that we've done, is it?
It's not, no. And to be honest, I don't think this film's going to be hard to survive, because spoilers if you've not seen this film, the protagonist survives, so do everything he does and you're going to be fine.
It's not just the protagonist. Nobody dies. The only dead person is Mr. Litvak, who died before the events of the film even happened. And that was of old age, maybe? We're not sure.
Probably old age. I mean, there is a flashback sequence, isn't there, where he's forced, this character, Mr. What do you say, Litvak? Litvak, sorry. He's forced to murder, I don't know, a sister or something at the start of the film, isn't there? There's a little flashback to World War II, because this is a film about a Jewish family, and then it's about this guy who's forced to murder a relative or whoever at the start of the film. So there is one death, but that's way before. That's back in the 40s.
Look, this film popped up on the best and worst episode that we did, and it was your best film that you saw in 2020 but didn't talk about. Explain the plot first, Chris, and then try to explain to me why you liked this film.
Oh, this will be good, because it's relating to yesterday when you said you'd watch this film, and I said, what do you think? And you just went, it's shit.
Look, that was extremely harsh and flippant, and I don't think it's totally a waste of time. There are good elements to it, but I am leaning more towards not that I didn't like it, but that after this week, after I've edited the podcast, I will probably never think of this film again. So just before I file it away, try and sell it to me, Chris, because I'm open-minded. I would like to like this film, and there are bits of it that I enjoyed, which I'll get into it in a second. But why did you like it?
This film? Because it's a horror, and I'm obligated to like horrors. Okay, so the plot of the film, you're going to have to forgive me, I've forgotten all the character names, so if you could remind me of them.
Yeah, Yakov, he's the main guy.
That's right. Okay, so Yakov, you said, yeah, so former member of Orthodox Jewish community, which, if I'm not mistaken, he leaves the Orthodox Jewish community. And he gets asked by a member of this community to act as a shomer or Shuma, sorry, I don't know how you pronounce it. It's a Jewish tradition of they watch over the body of a recently deceased member of the community before the body's taken away for preparation for burial or whatever they want to do with it. And Yakov doesn't want to do this, but he's in need of money. He hasn't got a lot, and he eventually he works out to get paid for this. I can't remember, was it $400 or something?
Yeah,
And
he barters his way up to 400 from 200, so that's good. That's good
that's pretty
bartering
good, yeah.
skills.
And then he's got to sit there with the body, and he's meant to read prayers and stuff to him, if I'm not mistaken. He's done this before. He's done this a few times when he was a member of the community, and so he just comes back reluctantly to do this, thinking, I'm just sitting with a dead body for one night, I can get some money. But all is not as it seems, because if it was, it'd be an even more boring film. So he sits with the body, and it's slowly revealed throughout the events of this film that this body, or the man that is deceased, was haunted by a demon that came to him when back in World War II he was forced to kill somebody else by what I'm assuming was a German officer or something. And this demon latched onto him, and he didn't get rid of it in time. And this man has lived with this demon all his life. And now that he's dead, the demon is hanging around and looking for a new victim, but it needs someone with a lot of guilt. And Yakov, for plot convenience, has this guilt, which resulted in his younger brother dying when they were harassed by some guys on the street for being Jewish. And the younger brother gets hit by a car, if I'm not mistaken, and dies. And Yakov carries the guilt with him, which is what the demon homes in on. And now, why I like it, because it's horror.
Yeah, please.
It had an interesting plot is what drew me in to begin with. I like the idea of these films where they sit there and they got to watch over the bodies, and then spooky things start to happen, because they're good films for building atmosphere, which this film does to begin with. I thought the atmosphere started to build well. It lost it towards the end, I will admit, but throughout the start of the film, the atmosphere built very nicely, and I enjoyed it. Would I watch it again? Quite possibly. I mean, maybe a year or two, I might give it another watch. I mean, I know you're not going to watch it again. My girlfriend's not going to watch it again because she fell asleep while watching it and woke up not knowing what had happened. So I think I'm the only one so far I found that's enjoyed it. But I think there's positive reviews for it, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's got quite a high score on the old Rotten Tomatoes too.
The audience scores on Rotten Tomato aren't yet open to the public. The reviews on it, I think there's like 90 professional reviews on it, and it's like 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. I did take a deep dive to check out the breakdown of those statistics, and on average, out of 10, it's scoring about 6 sevens. So it's just over the halfway line that it needs to cross to be marked as a positive review on Rotten Tomatoes. But yeah, I'd agree with you that the first half is good at building atmosphere. The shots of the body in the background, and at some point that the quilt is going to pop up. But it's just a question of when it will do that. So yeah, I don't know exactly where the film lost me, but it lost me at some point, because the first half was gripping and there is an air of something bad is going to happen, but I don't know what. But yeah, then it doesn't capitalize on it, and I don't know why. Maybe it's Yakov's guilt. You say he's got trauma and stuff, but his trauma is from a situation where his younger brother is grabbed by 3 bigger blokes. One of them's got a knife. They push Yakov down, and Yakov's panicking, and then the 3 guys let the kid go, and then the kid runs out and gets hit by a car. Now, Yakov, I don't know what he was going to do in that situation, because he's a religious man. He's not a cage fighter. He's not going to take out 3 guys. One of them has a knife. I don't know how he could have handled that situation. And then the car hitting the kid, it's not his fault. I don't believe his guilt, really. I know it's a terrible situation, but the situation's out of his hands. He can't stop a car, and he can't beat up 3 yobs.
Yeah, but he is going to feel guilt at that regardless, isn't he? I mean, you hear about it, don't you? People in similar situations in real life, and they get all this guilt, and they get like survivor's guilt and stuff like that, don't they? Where the situation's completely out of their hands, but they survive it, and if somebody close to them dies, they're going to feel guilt about it. It's a well-known thing, isn't it? So I completely get why he would feel guilty about it, and why it's affected him so badly. Of course, he would feel guilt about it.
I think maybe it should have been connected to why he left the Orthodox Jewish community in the first place. So maybe he's supposed to pick up his little brother from school, but he doesn't because he's at worship or prayers or something, and then something bad happens to his brother, and maybe that's the trigger for him leaving.
I think this event was the trigger for him leaving, because
yeah, but
they were targeted because they were Jewish, and Orthodox Jewish, they have their hair in a certain way, and that was the whole reason these men targeted him, wasn't it? So I think that's why he left.
Yeah, I don't. It's a bit one-dimensional.
I don't know. I completely disagree with you on that. I think he had a very good traumatic experience, or a good reason to feel the guilt for it, and it was also the reason he left the Orthodox Jewish community, and why he feels guilty about it and stuff like that. And I think that works well, and it gives you all the material you need for this guilt demon, if you like, this one that latches on the people with guilt and trauma, and makes Yakov the perfect candidate for it.
But yeah, you could have still had the guilt and trauma and stuff, but it could have come from a different place. It could have been the guilt would have, because then if he's not there to pick up his brother and help him like cross the road or whatever, or not get attacked by yobs, pick one. Why are there two terrible things that happen to this kid? Why does he get attacked and then run over? Pick one, and then.
Well, that's fine. You can't be mad at the film for saying, "Oh, you've been too harsh on this kid. Let him get attacked or hit by the car, but not both, really."
Just one.
I mean, it just wasn't that much. They just grabbed him, didn't they? And then they pushed him away. They didn't actually do anything to him. So
they held a knife to him.
What's a little bit of a knife? That's fine. He's only a kid, and they're 3 full-grown adults. I wouldn't have traumatized him that much.
It would have given Yakov some complexity, like his house, the twist with that they kidnapped a kid. Those characters were then they were put in a bad situation and they did a bad thing to get out of it. There's more to get your teeth into with that than with Yakov's backstory, I think.
I was waiting for the his house comparison.
Yeah, well,
I knew it was coming.
Apparently it's a rule of thumb that I have to compare every horror film that we've done to the last horror film that we've done. So there we go. Okay. Just be thankful I'm not comparing it to Hereditary. At least not yet. So Yakov's fine. For a film that's quite slow, he gets a fair bit of development through context, like he's new to technology and things like that. He's Googling how to talk to women. He's got mental health issues, which may actually be the cause of the spookiness going on in the when he's sitting over the body. It might not actually be a demon. It might just be one of his delusions or something like that to cope with his grief.
I thought that too at one point, until because he's watching over the body, but the wife of the guy that's died, she's upstairs sleeping, and she comes down and starts talking to him. Unless he's hallucinating all of that, and the wife, and that she comes down and is like, "Yeah, this thing's real. It's latched onto him." Come down to the basement where you can see some videotapes about it.
He might have deluded himself into seeing all of that stuff. We don't know. But at the end, there is a long shot, and then there's a dark shape that comes out of the house, and it's blurry, and Yakov describes the creature as being blurry, so maybe exactly. It really is
it's following him. He didn't get rid of it. He is screwed.
Well, no, I reckon that maybe he did get rid of it, but he didn't kill the demon, so just stopped it attaching itself to him, but the demon's like, oh, okay, I'll just wander the streets to find someone else that's got trauma.
Okay, I like that idea. That opens it up for the Vigil 2, Stay Awake, and then Vigil 3, Bed and Breakfast.
I wouldn't watch another Vigil film, but I would watch another film by the director, because I think the atmosphere was good. I just think it lost it towards the concluding part, because the final showdown is kind of a letdown. The scares in this, the sound design and music are really good and sinister, and the cracking sounds are visceral. But apart from the few long shots of like the body and Yakov on his phone and the bodies in the background and you're convincing yourself that it could move at any second, those are good. But then is a reliance on jump scares a lot of the time, and the end is basically Yakov walking down a spooky corridor, holding up a tiny candle, and then the demon is set on fire. So it's kind of a very flat end.
Yeah, I'll give you that. The like you said, the atmosphere and stuff. Where you can, the film works best when Yakov is doing stuff and you can see the body in picture, because, like you said, you're convincing yourself. You're like, it's going to sit up in a minute. It's going to move. Like with haunted doll films, where someone's doing something, the doll's in the background, and you're watching it thinking, is it going to move? And yeah, that was good. And like you said, the ending scene where he's the standoff walking down the corridor. Okay, yeah, the film starts to lose it at that point. Sorry. But I don't know how they would have finished the film if they just kept it like the first half and just played it out that way. There would have been no finale to it. It just would have kept going.
Because, yeah, he does have to fight the demon, the Mazak, at some point. But it pops up super quick, scares him, and then runs off and disappears, or Yakov runs into a different room. But then in the final showdown, it's just standing at the end of this corridor and doesn't do anything to defend itself. It turns into Yakov, and he gets a spooky look like, oh no, it's me. And then he just sets it on fire anyway. It should have been more of a struggle. Maybe if it was his brother's face or something like that. I don't know how you could have done it better, but I like the way that they often that they addressed some of my immediate survival suggestions that I usually go to, which is phone someone or just leave the house. So Yakov does phone someone. He gets a signal, which is a horror trope which is avoided, but the Mazak uses the phone to further toy with him, so it takes on the voice of his psychiatrist and it toys with him in that sense. It also turns up in a video call as well and sort of spooks him like that. And also he leaves the house and then the Mazak like twists his bones and stuff like that, so he has to come crawling back to the house. I think that was kind of counterproductive for the Mazak, because surely it would want him to not believe Mrs. Litvak and just go, so he can't set its face on fire and banish it.
Yeah, but the Mazak's desperate for a new host to attach to, isn't it? So if he leaves, then it's screwed. Even because the wife says she hasn't got enough trauma, or she's not had anything happen to her that's so traumatic that the Mazak's interested. So that's why it leaves her alone.
She lived with a man that was haunted by a demon for 80 years or however long. Surely that's quite traumatic.
Leave, so well, she didn't leave, did she? So she obviously didn't find it that traumatic. The demon's like, oh, bollocks, I've not scared this woman enough to latch onto her. So, and that's why it can't let old Yazek leave. It's like, no, I need him to come back. But then it also wouldn't let the husband, when he was alive, it wouldn't let the husband leave, because they mentioned about how in his later years he stayed in the house, or if he tried to leave, he would complain of pain. So maybe it's something to do with the house as well. Like the Yazek didn't want the husband to leave, so maybe it couldn't follow outside the house. But then it does at the end of the film, so I don't know. That's a bit of a Limp Bizkit, I suppose.
It's a bit of a heavy metal band. Is that?
Yeah, I was going to say Limp Bizkit's a music thing, isn't it? That's why it came into my mind. I was trying to think of Limp something, and I went Bizkit. No, I was like, oh, that's why.
No, okay. It's a bit of a limp dick in terms of plot.
Okay, yeah, go with that. Yeah, that works better.
Because look, Mr. Litvak, he seemed to have done all right anyway. He got out of the war, out of the concentration camps with a demon, and then he lived to a ripe old age. He got married and had kids. So how much of an impact does this demon actually have on you? I mean, I know Mrs. Litvak wanted the kids to get as far away as possible, but maybe it's just old age. That's why he couldn't leave anymore.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, now you think about it, how much of an impact did it have on him? Maybe I don't know, maybe he was constantly making him, I don't know, depressed, insomnia, stuff like that. But like I said, he was still able to live life essentially. I don't know, maybe it's like you're always doing it, but you're always aware there's this spooky thing that will give you jump scares every now and then. That's always like, you feel like it's always on your shoulder or something. Okay, or maybe he's just so resilient and like he's like, I've dealt with the horrors of the Second World War and Nazis and everything. A demon means shit all to me. I can fight this, and he was just willful enough and resilient to live that long.
What did you think of the look of the demon?
Do you know what? I don't remember. So like, I honestly can't remember. But I always think with these types of films, and again, it goes the same with films about dolls and that lot. When they show it moving or they show the creature, it loses it a bit. So with these types of films, I think it would have been better if the demon had at most been a blurry shadow in the background and not revealed it any further than that. I think would have helped better. Because is it on the video? You said it's a video call, isn't it? They revealed the demon.
They mostly show its hands, which are like long, twisted sausage fingers.
Sausage fingers. And then don't they say, the ending hallway scene when he's walking with the torch, not torch, candle, sorry. Do they reveal the demon then before it changes into like a version of him?
It turns its head and it's sort of a blank face, and then it turns into Yakov. And there is a moment where he's trying to get back into the house where the demon's face turns around and it's got sort of scars and stuff. It's very quick and it's gone before you can get a good look at it.
Okay, yeah, I think it would have been better if they kept it at a distance. The blurry figure, Yakov stands up and looks, and you can. I like it in horror films. I said this with Hereditary, where it's dark and you can just make out something standing in the shadows. That if you concentrate, you're like, oh fuck, there is something there, like the shape, or you can just make out a face. I prefer that rather than going, here's the monster right in your face type thing. So I would have preferred it if they kept it more shadowy.
Yeah, they did do one scare like that.
What, we can see it in the background?
Where you can see a shadow and then he picks up his phone and does a torch on it and it's not there anymore, but it's not in the background.
That's when he's shining into the dining room, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, see, I like that. I feel that's a more effective, especially if they make it difficult to see to the point where you're thinking, is that there, or am I just, am I thinking it's there? Because the character's thinking that and the viewer's thinking it as well, and that helps put the viewer into the situation and makes it more, in my opinion, more scary.
Yeah.
Rather than going, here's the monster, because you're like, okay, it's definitely there now. I know it's there. I'm not going crazy. Because when a monster's chasing you, it's less scary when you know where it is. Because at least you know.
You'd turn around and kick it.
Exactly. There you go. Whereas if it's this thing that's just out of your field of vision, but you think it's there, or is it there? That works so much more better, and it helps these films more. So yeah, that would be my thing on that film, not to show it off as much, keep it back.
Yeah, because if you don't know where it is, you can't kick it, can you?
Exactly that, and you can't shine your torch at it or anything like that, and you're going to be paranoid, and then you jump at everything, and that builds the atmosphere, and then you've got the body under the sheet in the background, and you keep looking at it thinking, oh my god, and that's perfect right there.
Yeah.
We should rewrite the Vigil.
No, I think it's a fair attempt at a low-budget horror film. It's definitely better than some even big-budget horror films. I was going to say something, but I've totally lost my train of thought. You got sucked into
my atmospheric thing. I gave myself goosebumps talking about that.
Yeah. Oh, no, that was it. Do you think that if Yakov had been doing the Vigil stuff right and he'd been reading the prayers from the get-go, that would have stopped the massacre? Because the point of the Vigils are to protect the spirits of, or the soul of the deceased person. Do you reckon if he'd just done it properly rather than dicking around on his phone and Googling how to talk to women, that his prayers would have stopped the massacre anyway?
No, I don't think so. Because, I mean, yeah, at the end of the film, when he's burnt it and he goes back down and the body's vibrating underneath the sheet, isn't he? He's doing prayers then in Yiddish or whatever it is, and he's doing his prayers and that lot, and that's what stops it. But I think And to begin with, it wouldn't have worked because of this whole, it feeds on the guilt. Because when he faces the demon in the hallway and he walks up and then it's him and he burns it, to me that was him sort of facing his guilt and beating it and realizing what you said, it's not his fault this happened to his brother, and it was out of his control. And then when he burns that away and he burns the demon / burns away his guilt for it, and then the demon can't latch onto him, then the prayers become effective. I reckon if he just done the prayers at the start of the film, because of his guilt, it wouldn't have worked. The demon still would have been able to latch onto him. So I think he had to beat the guilt first before the prayers to work.
What if it just repressed his memories? Just forget everything. Typical bloke stuff, just pretend it didn't happen.
Don't think that was going to work, if I'm honest with you.
What if you try really hard?
Well, maybe if you got drunk, you could forget then.
Maybe,
but that's
yeah.
not healthy. He dealt with his guilt in a healthy way by fighting a possibly imaginary demon in the house of a recently deceased man.
Yeah, caused a lot of damage to that old lady's house.
That's funny, yeah. So yeah, I don't think the prayers at the start would have worked at all.
Okay. Like we said, there are no deaths in this. So
Besides old age. So slow your metabolism down to extend your lifespan. And you're good to go.
Is that how it works?
I thought that's how it worked. That's why, like, was it turtles or tortoises? They live for hundreds and hundreds of years because their metabolism is slower. Your faster your metabolism, the shorter your lifespan. I thought that's how it worked.
Well,
I mean, I might be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's something to do with your metabolism.
Genetics. I think they've got good genes.
So genetically engineer yourself to survive death and become immortal, and you can beat the Vigil, maybe. But you've got to make sure you've got no unchecked guilt in.
Yeah.
So you need to get rid of all your guilt first.
What if they just hired someone that didn't feel guilt for anything?
Now, I think the same thing, and I think what would have happened is they would have done the Vigil all the way through like normal, and how at the end of this film, when Yakov leaves and you see the shadowy figure come out, and like you said, he hasn't killed the demon, he's beaten it, and it's looking for a new victim. I think the same thing would have just happened with that. Somebody would have sat there, they would have done the prayers, the Vigil, nothing would have happened to them because they didn't have the guilt needed to entice this demon. And then when they took the body out in the morning, the demon would have gone to somebody else. Or the demon would have stayed with the body until they took it to wherever and then latched onto somebody else then.
Yeah. Do you think it could have starved to death at any point, the demon?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know enough about this demon to know whether it has to latch on, whether it just enjoys latching on or it's essential to its existence to latch on. I'm not sure. Possible the demon could starve to death. Maybe it's a parasitic one. And, it could starve, but then it's going to find somebody in the world. There's a lot of guilt in the world over everything, isn't there? So it would be impossible for this demon not to find somebody quite easily, probably down that very road that hasn't got severe guilt or trauma. So I don't think it's got to worry about starving to death, to be honest.
Well, New York's quite a hardy city.
I think there's a lot of guilt and trauma in New York. So
I think it's full of just...
It would latch on very fine.
All right. I think New Yorkers would band together and, just like in Spider-Man...
Fight this Jewish demon.
they'd all get on the Brooklyn Bridge and pelt this demon with crowbars and bricks. Get out of here! Go back to New Jersey.
Or they line all their cranes up to help the protagonist get through the streets quickly away from the demon.
Swing along the cranes.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Very good. Well, I'm sorry, Chris, but you've not convinced me that The Vigil is worth me remembering.
Okay, the first half is. Watch the first half until it lost you, then switch it off, and then you make up the rest in your mind. You keep it going creepy-wise.
I still don't know where it lost me. That's... Maybe it's after he leaves.
Oh, well, after he leaves and it cripples him and makes him come back.
Yeah, I think that might be where it lost me, when he leaves. But I can't be sure, and I'm not going back to watch it to
I think we should watch it again.
No, I don't... No, it's got no rewatch value for me, I'm afraid to say. I will watch another film by Keith Thomas, definitely. Because I think there is the potential there for a good horror film from him, or a good film from him. I think he's got a good eye for the genre. I just think maybe budgetary, it kind of held him back a little bit. But I didn't hate it. If you are a horror fan, you're going to watch it anyway. So
you're damn right you are, and I'm going to be there watching it all with you because I'm keeping a vigil. That's the thing.
Well, look, I'm sure we'll talk about it next time we talk about a horror film, because, again, I have
We're going to compare it, yeah.
If I can remember it, I might just skip over it and compare it to His House again.
Oh,
you'll have to remind me.
That's going to be your benchmark horror film now.
yeah, potentially. Yeah, so that was The Vigil. Maybe I've been too harsh on it, Chris. Maybe you've been too forgiving to it, but let us know. We could survive that at gmail.com, or you can tweet us at We Could Survive if you've got any thoughts on The Vigil.
Well, thank you to everybody who's been listening to We Could Survive That, your weekly survival guide to the movies. We're going to see you next week. But until then, keep on surviving. And remember, we're always watching you. Good night and sweet dreams.
That is so creepy.
Yeah,
also, I'm also against Yakov because he wasn't doing what he was paid to do, which is stay up all night and read prayers. He fell asleep. He was on his phone. He fell asleep. He's texting girls. He's Googling how to talk to them. Do the job that you were paid to do, man. Come on. $400. That's quite a bit of change. Cash in hand as well. He didn't have to pay tax.
Care. He left the Orthodox Jewish community, so he doesn't really care about it. He just needs that money. And, he wants to hit on a woman. And he's got Google.
Maybe that's why it lost me. If you've got to Google how to talk to a woman, it's just like talking to a bloke. Talk about monster trucks and football.
But we don't talk about that stuff.
No.
I don't want to talk about that stuff. Why would I say that?
Yeah,
why are we talking about this? End the show.
Sorry, you just reminded me of something I didn't like. Goodbye.
Goodbye.